Hi, welcome everybody. So today's episode is something which is very close to my heart. It's about straight from the heart leadership. And I want to talk about this with somebody who's very special, who is one of my favorite ex-bosses. He's here. He is the managing director of Titan. In case you don't know, Titan is about 2 lakh crore worth in terms of valuation. That's about a $30 billion and about 27,000 crore in terms of revenues, about $4 billion. But the managing director of Titan is usually found cycling to his office, and he frequently takes a second-class train when he visits the market. And even when he has to travel by car, it's usually in a 16-year-old Honda Accord. So that's the kind of a person he is. You can call him a maverick if you want, but to me, he's one of the coolest head honchos of a corporate that I have ever met. So he's CK Venkatraman, CKV for short, and we all lovingly call him CKV. CKV, welcome, and so happy to have you here, CKV. So CKV, let me start off straight away. So the two things which I find unique about you is, one is your authenticity. You are one of the most genuine, authentic person I've seen in my life. And that culture, it's very obvious whenever anybody sees you, and that's what you are. And the other one about you is compassion. You're very compassionate in your dealings with others, and you're very helpful, very kind. And these two cultures, these two aspects of culture have permeated deep into the company, Titan. Because I spent 6 years of my life in Titan. I know exactly how it is. And even now, when I interact with anybody in Titan, this is what I get. So I want to first talk about the authenticity part of it. You're always seen in an Alan Solly shirt. And we talked about the second AC travel and second class travel and your Honda Accord and your cycling, etc. Can you tell me a little bit about, what makes you this way?
I think not consciously thought about it. It is just that, like for example, every Sunday when my car is cleaned, there's a guy who comes to clean the car, and when it is cleaned, and I take it out sometimes, and it's parked next to the other cars on the road. It actually belongs today, in the sense of, happily for me, that particular year of Honda Accord, 2008 make, that styling is even today very, very, contemporary. So one of the big things about a car is, if it looks dated, you also feel bad about it, you want to change it. So fortunately for me, this car continues to look current. That's a very important aspect. And thereafter, it's a very luxurious car. For its size, it's still so simple to drive. It's so comfortable because it's a luxurious car. And it lacks the typical digital stuff of today in terms of the entire GPS and all that kind of thing. But it's so nice to otherwise. And therefore, there's really no reason, unless the car becomes a status thing. And how come you're still driving a Honda, you should be driving a BMW or a Merc, which is sort of befitting your status and standing as a player, which actually is not relevant for me. So therefore, the authenticity is about what things really give you joy in life. And and I'd just like to correct you, I don't travel by second class so much. Not that I mind traveling by second class, but I do travel by train a hell of a lot, yes. And it's actually a very convenient way to get from small town to another small town instead of driving. So it's not that I want to make some statement by traveling by train, but I really enjoy it because you do meet the most fascinating people on trains. In fact, talking about trains, I had a very funny observation 3-4 days back. I was just clearing security in the airport, and one guy's carry-on baggage was separated for checking by the security. And that guy opened that suitcase and took out a big, thick chain with a lock. And then he asked the guy, "What is this chain for?" And that guy so innocently said, "This is for locking my suitcase, tying my suitcase to the chair in the train." Okay, and that CSIF guy smiled and said, "ये सब plane में करना नहीं होता. And that guy was so sort of so sad, and then guy took the chain away and said, "You cannot carry the chain."
So sweet. Poor guy.
Just gave him a lock to keep. So you do meet the most fascinating people on train, apart from it being the simplest way to go from a Rajnandgaon to an Ambikapur, for example. You instead of driving. And cycling, of course, they say that you can never be sad when you're on a cycle. And I've discovered this all my life. You just can never be sad. It gives you a 360-degree view of the world, which only a cycling or a two-wheeler can give.
Right.
And the wind in your face and the chill and everything around it, and especially in a city like Bangalore, which is so friendly with its
Weather.
So therefore, these things are for the real joy that they bring to me. But, but it is seen as, my God, you're so humble, you're so simple, which is not a charm. I mean, that may be from your point of view, but for me, it's what joys they actually deliver.
So I want to actually sort of put that in perspective, because most people feel compelled to show their status, and hence they actually forget the joy of cycling or going by train, and then want to conform. It is the same with attire, right? I mean, finally, most senior positions, people then tend to wear more formal clothes, and they think that's what befits their position. You've not let that sway you, which is, I think, which is what is authenticity about, right? I mean, you go with what feels good for you, rather than what the society expects of you.
Yeah, and maybe, because I was cycling from 1990, when the world was very different, and I was way too junior to worry about, sort of presenting myself in a particular way to the world. And that habit of either going by train or cycling to work, since I got into it early in life, I didn't have to cross the barrier which somebody maybe at a 45 or a 50 has to cross in their own minds. And I was fortunate to be like that. The other is my view about the role of money.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it in its place, in a sense. And I just, like, for example, after 2 months, I had some knee injury, which I was recovering from. And after 2 months, I did my first 10 kilometers today. And there is a deadly world's best Medu Vada place about 500 meters from my home. Really the best Medu Vada in the world. And I go there every Saturday, Sunday, and I have this nice chat with the owner who's from Tirunelveli and all that. And so that, maybe what would be expected of somebody like me is a brunch in the
Yeah.
a Sunday morning brunch in the Leela would be maybe after a game of golf. You go and have brunch in Leela and then come, right? Whereas that golf would finish by 12 or 1, Whereas I have finished my stuff by 7:45 and then my vada by 8:40. And it's such a tasty vada, and it gave me all the sort of energy that I actually need for the day. And therefore, the materialism which a lot of us are driven by, and we have created bubbles in a sense to live in. We live in communities. From the community, we get into an air-conditioned car, which is a bubble. We go into the office, which is a bubble. We go to the airport and then travel by plane, which is a bubble. And so on. So we live in a bubble. And if you break out of that bubble and experience other things, I think maybe the first step, the people who are so wanting to wear a suit to either belong, not wish to show anything, but to belong, that you have to, wear a suit. But in fact, I remember keeping one tie tied like that for many years because I didn't know how to tie a knot. So somebody helped me once, and then I didn't want to loosen that because I was worried that next time I wouldn't be able to find that.
Makes two of us. But CKV, I was planning to interject when you told the Vada story to say, Vada story. But that pun didn't work out. So this, I've heard that you've had some interesting co-travelers in your train journeys, and you've had some interesting stories there. You want to share any of those stories?
Yeah, the most interesting story was I was traveling. I go to this town called Shahjahanpur, just off Lucknow
Okay.
area. And there is a nice 3-hour train journey from Shahjahanpur to Lucknow. And then I catch the flight from Lucknow to Bangalore. So on one of those train journeys, there was this young couple. They were from, I think, Rudrapur or Kashipur from Uttarakhand. And that guy must have been mid-30s. He was working in the university there. Then somebody else, an older person my age, met them, and they started talking, and they were talking, half in Hindi, half in English and all that. I was alone, and I was sort of curious and listening to them talking. And that uncle to that guy, that couple, but same age as me, that he was asking, "Uncle, isn't your son-in-law a Tamilian?" And this guy said in Hindi, he said, "Yeah, he is a Tamilian." And then suddenly another older man joined them, and suddenly the conversation moved to Tamilians. For what reason, I forget. And that guy said, these Tamilians, they're just like the black people in the US. Dark, big eyes. I was thinking, dark and big eyes. And I was curious, and I was starting to smile. And then this guy asked that man, "What is your son-in-law's name?" He said, "His name is Venkat." So I couldn't take it anymore. So I interjected and said, "Excuse me, I'd like to share some personal stuff." And they were looking at me curious. "Yes." I said, "I'm a Tamilian. My name is Venkatraman." And that guy whose son-in-law was Venkatraman nodded. "Oh, nice." And they continued the conversation. And I said, "Okay, I tried."
Oh, that's
But this will never happen in a plane.
very true. Yeah. So, well, this obviously will never happen in a plane, but I do have lots of interesting stories in planes where my aim by the time I get into the flight to the time I land is to get very friendly with the person next to me, and also ensure that by the end of the journey they promise to buy my book. So I do a concerted selling effort during that 1, 2, 3 hours. But
How successful
sorry.
have you been? How successful have you been?
Unfortunately, I don't keep track of whether they bought or not. So I presume that maybe from 50% of them bought. So CKV, this I strongly believe that authenticity is at the core of happiness, and it sort of shows on you. By the way, you're one of the happiest persons I've met. I claim that I'm the happiest person I have ever met in my life. You're sort of number 2, by the way. Very close to number, very close. So the thing is, in positive psychology, which I've been sort of studying a lot now recently, what they say is that authenticity is not just at the core of happiness; it is the foundation for happiness. So if you have the ability to be absolutely true to who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you are exactly, you're comfortable with that, and you're absolutely comfortable sharing that exactly the way it is to the rest of the world, then you're in a very nice place within yourself. You don't have a mental dissonance inside you all the time, and hence I think the way you are living, I think, is perfect, and it's a great example for anybody in whatever position they are in, etc. in life. So I want to understand. I believe Titan as an organization has this as at the core of its culture, this authenticity, and it shines through whoever you interact with. Can you tell me a little bit about this culture in Titan? How do you think it has benefited the organization?
Before I go to the benefit, I think 2-3 points about what makes for that authenticity. One is, we don't take ourselves seriously. Because I think this whole projection about the person that you want to be seen as is about taking yourself seriously.
True.
Maybe a little too serious. So that is just not there in title. While we take our work very seriously. The second is, in a way, maybe related to that, is that almost total absence of ego.
Okay.
So I don't need to win all the time. It's okay to lose, however senior I am. It's okay to admit your vulnerability. For example, there was a recent reversal of a very, very critical people policy that we did. And we went and admitted that we misjudged, we failed in trying to understand the implications of whatever we were rolling out. And now that we realize it's not working, we want to roll back as opposed to sit on our ego. How can we reverse? Then we'll be exposed as somebody who didn't think it through, or whatever, right? And the people said, oh, that's nice. You guys are never afraid to admit that you sort of failed or you didn't do it right or whatever it is. So the absence of ego is the second thing. And the third is this whole thing about the role of money, the whole materialism. I do feel that it is less pronounced. And I think it helps us being in Bangalore. Even if, for example, if I were to take the Kannadiga culture, and we are now a cosmopolitan city, but when Titan started working, it was not such a cosmopolitan city. And the Kannadiga culture is also a very simple culture, as opposed to some of the other cultures in the country. And therefore, all these make for a certain simplicity. And at the leadership level. So you don't, it's like, for example, when the Economic Times journalist asked Bhaskar in 2002, when he became the managing director of Titan, so are you going to keep the Mercedes that Mr. Desai had? And Bhaskar's comment was this, that look, if I park that car inside my garage, I would not be able to open the door.
Beautiful story.
That's all he said. and so there is so much humor in Titan also, as you can see from the story. He could have said it in some other way, but it was a very innovatively humorous. It was on the spot. It was not like he put the and came. He just thought of connected two dots in his mind. That humor Titan is a very humorous place. And therefore, when you have humor, then you really become chilled out. Then all your stiffness, your formality of, whatever, you have to dress like this, you have to behave like this, somebody has to walk behind you with the suitcase in the hand. The driver walking with the suitcase where the boss sort of marches very purposefully towards the cabin. That is, so I think these values are what has, apart from, of course, they naturally come with the informal work culture, open door thing, the ability to voice your dissent, irrespective of your level, irrespective of your tenure in the company. And thereafter, we added things like the freedom to experiment and fail, get up and run, in a way, encouraging entrepreneurship of all kinds. And of course, a huge level of compassion for people less fortunate, the planet which is less fortunate, than us and stuff like that. So these values ended up attracting a large number of like-minded people at the next level. And through that, because of that multiple levels where it permeates, it became institutionalized.
So what you're saying is that when you start with a particular culture at the core, as the company grows, you typically end up attracting people of similar culture, and then hence it just keeps on permeating within the organization. Now, the story that you talked about, sorry, you're saying something, CKV.
No, what you said is exactly right. And we know because the top team has been also in the company for
That's true.
decades. So when we are interviewing like we got two senior people, our CFO and our CPO are just 1 year old into the company. And when we were interviewing multiple candidates, we all knew who was totally non grata, persona non grata for us, and intuitively. And of course, on the basis of certain phrases that person used and stuff like that, and we would converge at the end of that interview and say, no, this person is not like genuine. And so therefore, attracting such people at all levels. But most are homegrown, so maybe 80% are homegrown, and the 20% of the laterals were chosen intuitively on this basis. So everybody is like that in the leadership, and therefore the whole organization is like that.
So the four things that you said, one is that don't take yourself too seriously. Number two is be absolutely transparent and honest about what you are. Number three is don't take money too seriously. I mean, give it only the right level of prominence. And the last one is have a lot of sense of humor, right? So this story that you talked about, the withdrawal of the policy that you had to do, which bombed, sort of. Now, the thing is, in most organizations, I would say it would take a lot of courage for people to do that. But in Titan, I think that's the way of life. And that is how strong the culture of authenticity is in Titan, in my opinion. And of course, it would have taken enormous amount of internal debates, etc., for any other organization to have done it. Even if they did, in Titan, I think it would have just been a 1 hour discussion. Should we do it, not do it, and then just go ahead and do it.
No, I mean, to be fair to other organizations, it was not a 1 hour discussion.
It's a big decision.
Perhaps the first time we did a reversal of this nature. So it did take a while, but because there was no ego and there is no this whole thing of how will I be seen if I do it like this, as opposed to what do I want to do, what is the right thing to do. Therefore, the projection versus your real thing, that is the center of this.
So CKV, we all